Welcome to the Red Dad Podcast,
where we'll be exploring the trials and triumphs of being a father, men's mental health,
and any other topic that inspires us to be rad.
Through a series of interviews, your host, Jace Kelly, will be discussing and discovering the best ways to become a rad dad. Now your host, Jace.
All right, thank you everyone for tuning in. This is the first episode of the Rad Dad Podcast. What better way than to start it with my best friend and business partner, Zachary Thomas. So thanks for being here. This is probably 6 weeks in the making. Zach helped with a lot of the design and just getting everything put together in the room to have the podcast going. So Zachary Thomas, my friend, my partner in crime. When was the last time you cried?
I'm an emotional person. I cry a lot. Probably like yesterday, probably.
Okay. I wasn't expecting that answer. I forgot how emotional you are because you I think you and I both put off like the tough guy phase, you know, like the provider, the tough guy, I don't know. We seem to put off that energy, but I have seen you cry and you can get emotional. So I was just throwing that at you as a curveball to start off. But so Zach and I have been best friends for 6 years? I don't know. We served LDS missions together in Puerto Rico, and then Zach married a girl local to where I grew up, and we've just been best friends ever since. We have kids that are close to the same age. And then, believe it or not, a year ago last week, we started Ace Coatings. Yeah. So Ace Coatings is the company that Zach and I own together. We started in garage epoxy and learned a lot and pivoted from there. We're now doing 100% sports court coatings. But we've been in business a year. Yeah, I forgot to bring that up to you last week, but our website renewal came up, our yearly renewal. So we've had the website for a year at least and been in business together for a year, and what a ride it has been. That's an understatement. So do you want to just talk a little bit about the emotions, the fears, the excitement of
Yeah, so probably best place to start would be kind of so people know, like, my background just kind of in the construction world itself. I've done just about everything that you can do. I've had a lot of jobs. I get bored easily.
Yeah.
So having a focus and starting a business has actually been really good for me and for our family to have a clear sight in mind of where we want things to go and how we want to progress. And it's been really fun, the transition to be able to do something that's rewarding and to do it with somebody that's so close to you makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
I think after I left my job, kind of doing some construction management stuff, trying to go it on my own, I found out how hard running a business by yourself is, and I'm not business minded. That's why this works, because
right.
you know all the aspects of business and people and marketing, and then bringing me into the equation and being able to kind of do the hands-on stuff, the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
Has been really nice. So definitely a tip for other business owners. I know some people can do it all. For me, realizing that I couldn't do it all was a really good thing for me. And you inviting me to do a business together has been really good for me as a person and for our family.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think it's interesting. One thing I've learned, because I own a business and then I own a business with you. And one thing I've learned in owning a partnership is, people always say it's like a marriage, but it is. And you hit the nail on the head when you said when you learn that you can't do it all on your own.
Yep.
So in my opinion, it's very similar to a marriage. You really can't do it on your own. And, men like to think they can. You look at a 24-year-old single dude's apartment, and he could have a couch and a TV and a bed and be totally happy.
Yep.
Women are not the same.
Nope.
But in the end, that 24-year-old is not going to go as far as he would if he was married to a woman, because he can't do it all on his own. So
Yep.
I think that's very true.
And I think we should mention too the fact that we both have very supportive wives.
Yeah, that you're
both of our wives is them on their own, and then together, us four, even them, the two of them together. It's cool to see how being in business together has made the friendship grow, because I think there are probably a lot of people out there that could talk about experiences that have been totally different, where they have tried to go into business with a friend and hasn't worked out for the better.
The general advice is don't go into business with your friends or family, which I believed for a long time, but I think there are winning combos where the right personality, the right skill sets, and the right spouses can make that work.
Yep.
And one thing we got to do better at, but I think is a good rule of thumb, is that we treat our wives to a really nice date night once a month. We've skipped months here and there, but the times that we've done it, I could tell they really enjoyed it, because they're in the same boat too. They're married to two crazy idiots out here trying to make it work, right?
Yep.
So they like to talk to each other and get $140 worth of sushi and treat them. And
it's important to reward the wives too, because and I'll share this because we want to be open with this and talk about real life and real circumstances, but I'll just share with the audience that I'm not great with money, not great with money decisions and those kind of things, and that's been really hard on my wife because she's a saver and she has a really hard time treating herself, and so she's a saver and a savior. Yeah, yep, she is. She's awesome. She's my savior. So it's important to reward your wives and your families too. When you reap rewards from your business endeavors and personal endeavors, it's exciting to celebrate with them. Makes it seem more real, and they're a part of the process too. Yeah, and I just want to touch on one more thing real quick with Ace Coatings. I want to talk about what I consider our rock bottom, which was kind of a month-long journey. It started New Year's Eve, and it kind of went through the end of January. Yeah. January was one of the hardest months I've experienced in my life, but at the same time, there were a few times in the month where I took a step back and I was like, how is Zach handling this the way he is? Like talking to the client, the way you handled just the whole situation. So I'll give a quick recap, and then I want your perspective on what was going through your mind. Okay. So basically we underbid the first big job that we ever did. We underbid it significantly and ended up having to redo the whole floor, so we were in the hole 2 times over. But material and labor.
Yeah, material and labor. And the timeline, there was a timeline crunch and things weren't working. Nothing was going in our favor. But if I could narrow it down to one point, it was like a 2-day span where you and I both tested positive for COVID. Yep. And I remember being in there at 6 a.m. grinding off the old epoxy that we had to redo with COVID. I had dirt bike goggles on, full mask, just like almost crying, sweating, felt like crap. And you came in at 8 and you were the same way. And it was like, dude, we have to get this business off the ground. We have to do a good job and push through this together. But I'll have to show you. I have a GoPro video that I took in there where I was just like, I can't believe this is happening. This is rock bottom. And I took that video because I want to look at it in 10 years and be like, look what we went through and look how far we've come.
Yeah.
So what were your emotions, and like, why did you handle that so much better than I did?
I would probably attribute it to two things. So one, I felt this need to succeed with the job because it was for somebody that you knew.
Yeah.
And so knowing that in my mind, that here we're doing this job, we want to do a great job regardless. We already know that we're not really going to make any money. We were learning a new style of applying the epoxy. And I think the first thing was that I knew it was for somebody that you knew, that you at the time had good rapport with. And so my focus was just like, I got to make this happen no matter what. I feel like crap. I look like crap. The job is not going well, but we've got to do whatever we have to do to make it work because I want to make my best friend look good. And that was really important to me. I don't know if I've ever told you that, but that was like a driving point for me because just, you should do a great job on any job, no matter who it is. But that was important to me because I wanted to make the client happy because I wanted to make you look good. And so that was important to me.
That.
And then the second part, I think, when I think about how sick we felt and, we're wearing masks, but you still breathe in some of those fumes and you kind of feel sick. And there was a little bit there that I was sick of the mask. I had taken it off and I'm breathing in some of the epoxy stuff. And I remember kind of standing up straight and just feeling like I was like just swaying back and forth, standing up straight.
I remember that.
And I had this like clear memory and vision, and this happens often on jobs still, but this one especially, where I remembered my dad growing up, and I remember there were times when I'd see my dad and he was like puking or he was sick or, just didn't feel good. And here I am thinking, oh, dad doesn't feel good. He's probably going to stay home from work. And not the case. That's watching my dad, get up early, leave for work, go to work hard, come home and, sleep. And remembering that and knowing, well, dad got up when he didn't want to. Dad got up when he was puking. Dad got up and went and did this. And he had to because had to go to work. It wasn't an option. And I think that in a lot of areas of my life has been a memory that is ingrained in my mind. Watching him and his example of this is what it means to be a provider. And I think there are times when, obviously we need to take care of ourselves. We all have breaking points. But for me, thinking about you and then thinking about my dad and this example of doesn't matter how I feel, I'm gonna go make this happen. I'm gonna provide for my family. Those two things being in my head, just I know my breaking point, and I'm like I can go a little bit more. I can go a little bit more. I can go a little bit more. And those are two things that kind of got me through it.
That's awesome, and it's interesting that you learned that lesson now because maybe you've thought of that moment before or those memories of your dad before, but it has a new meaning now that you're a dad and a business owner. And I think that's something that is not recognized enough in society. Like maybe I'm going to get in trouble for saying that, but dads are oftentimes the unsung heroes of their family because of the sacrifices that they make. So, and then it's always, no matter how hard those days were, we still get to go home to our kids and our wives. So, but I thought it was so interesting. Like I call that experience rock bottom, and we may have hard times ahead in our business, but we experienced that low of a low so early in our business journey together. And it's like ever since that, no matter what issues that come upon us, and we've had our fair share of issues in sports courts and everything, no matter what, we know we went through that, and we've already gone through that difficult time. So I feel like, I don't know, you and I and Spencer my little brother that works with us. We've all kind of developed an ability to just be like, hey, we're gonna figure this out. Let's keep chugging along
and it's done. And with that too, like it's not something where when those times come where it's all sunshine and flowers, it's not like, oh well, I can just think positive and I'll make it. It's not. I mean, it is a mindset, but it's there are a lot of moving parts. And like you mentioned, we have your brother that has done a phenomenal job at just like picking up and learning new skills. I mean, everything from, you know, the hands-on stuff with tools, equipment, installing, and then I've seen him blossom as far as like people skills, and like, it's cool to see that change in somebody, and then know like, oh man, like, you know, doing what we do or building something can have that effect on other people. Like we can pass on some of these really cool life lessons that we've learned in our short time. And it makes me excited for the future, and that, you know, we can have and hire more people and take care of them as well, and learn together with them.
Yeah, that's such a great point. So on the topic of spouses and having a strong spouse, I want to lead into this crazy story of you delivering your second child. So can you just take us through that evening, or I know the evening before, there were some things that you were prompted to do that prepared you for that situation. So do you want to just take us through that and kind of explain what happened?
Yeah, so super cool. And some people listening may know and may not know, my wife now is a doula, which if you don't know what that is, there's some really cool women, and I don't know if there are very many men, but some really cool ladies that basically are a support system and help these ladies to kind of coach them through delivery and be a comfort to them. But anyways, this is before she became a doula, and an experience that kind of launched her into kind of going to school and becoming a doula. But yeah, so it's hard to like tell the story and like be quick about it, like not make it a long story. Yeah. But I'll try and cut out some of the fat. So this is my second child, my little girl JoJo, and Allie was pretty early with her too. I think at least a week or so early, and she had not had any contractions, no like signs of like, oh, I'm gonna have this baby right now. And she woke up at about 4 in the morning, and got up to go to the bathroom, just normal. Just got up to go to the bathroom, nothing different. And all of a sudden I hear her get up, and her water broke, and she's like, I'm having this baby. She like immediately.
What time of the night was this?
I think it was like 4 a.m. It might have been a little bit before 4, like 3:30 or something like that, because we had JoJo at around 4:30. And so yeah. Anyways, so she gets up, go to the bathroom, water breaks, and then it's like pandemonium. But it's really interesting because, especially thinking back with Jet, it's like this. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me, or maybe it's all dads, but it's like everything's good, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm having the baby," and you just start like, "You're, where's the bag? Where's this? Where's that?" Like, we gotta, you know, get you to a hospital.
Going to dad mode though.
Oh yeah,
like
Papa
focused,
Bear.
Like, yeah,
I gotta get mom ready. Gotta get her shoes on. Get the bag. Let's freaking go. Let's do this. Yeah. But she has labors pretty fast, and went early with Jet as well, and just about didn't make it to the hospital with him. And then same thing happened with JoJo. And so I'm trying to get everything ready. I'm trying to get her, you know, she's got her pants on and trying to get her shoes on. And we live in a basement apartment, and there's a stairwell that goes to upstairs. And we get to the bottom of the stairs, and she just lays down, and she's, "Take my pants off. I'm having this baby right now." Just like,
you want your wife to say, "Take my pants off."
Yeah, but not then. Yeah.
Yeah. What comes next is kind of crazy.
So, I'll go back the night before. I was just kind of, and I have a tough time sleeping, and so sometimes I'll dink around on my phone, which is like the worst thing to do because you should probably read a book or something before you go to bed. But I'm on my phone, and I don't know if it was like a feeling or a prompting or if I just did it but I had kind of thought like, oh, I should like look and see like in emergency situations, like what do you do if you can't make it to a hospital? Like how do you?
So this is the night before.
This is like the night before, yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm watching some like YouTube videos on like emergency births and like what to do and things to have ready and how to basically deliver a baby.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew like a little bit of it from having Jet and being in the room. But there, you know, you're at a hospital, you got nurses, doctors, and they kind of just do their thing and you're there for the experience and, you know, they'll have you cut the cord and whatever else.
Yeah, right.
But this was like a whole new game. So I'd kind of, you know, I had that stuff in my head, which was cool. And then, so we get to the bottom of the stairs and she lays down and she's like, I'm having this baby. We're not going anywhere. And I'm like, no. You got to get up. But the second I knew that I was going to be delivering this baby, like this was happening right this second, I had like this feeling of just like total calm come over me. Really interesting because that was different from the time before.
So wait, I want to set the scene a little because I don't think you've told me the story in this much detail. So you guys are in the stairwell.
Yeah.
She's on the ground.
So we've got the two doors between going upstairs.
Right, you're there. Where's Jet? Your boy.
Jet's asleep.
He's asleep.
Yeah.
And this is 4 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah. He's asleep.
Okay.
Pretty much stayed asleep the whole time. I knew that it was happening right now. Weren't going to make it anywhere. So I was just like, sweet, let's have this baby. I can do this.
So that was your thought. It wasn't to call 911 and.
No, you know who the first person was I called? I called her mom.
Okay.
I didn't even call 911 first.
Okay.
I called her mom and I just said.
Which they live pretty close.
Yeah, they're a couple minutes down the road and I was like, hey, she's having this baby right now. You got to get over here. And so then I let her kind of do her thing. She called her sister who she wanted there and was going to take some pictures. And the two of them came. And at that point, Allie's on the ground. I had taken her pants off and I was helping her. And then it was just like stuff from those videos and like previous experience with Jet. I just kind of knew what to do. I just like immediately I was like, okay, got to get some towels. So I ran and grabbed a bunch of towels, got the towels up underneath her. Then I'm like, oh, okay, the cord. I got to have something to tie the cord off. Freaking grab one shoe. I'm telling you, in one swipe, I grabbed the shoelace and just whoosh, straight out of the shoe. So I got the shoelace. I'm like ready to go. And then I was like, okay.
Was Allie like, how do you know all this? Or was she just like focused on the pain?
Yeah, the more we talk about the story, like she was in like the only thing she was thinking about was I'm having contractions, right. I'm in pain, and she's just in a different world.
Gotcha.
Which is kind of a bummer because, you know, you want that experience to be cool for the mom and have it be a great experience for mom and for her. You know, she's laying on her back, which is like on the ground. And so she's in pain and, you know, just not having a great time. And it was cool that, you know, she's obviously scared, worried. She's trying to take herself through breathing and staying calm as much as she can, knowing that, oh my gosh, I'm not in a hospital or there's no doctors. I'm going to have this baby right now. And so I was really grateful that for whatever reason it was, God or, you know, whatever you want to call it, that it was just this immediate calmness that I felt, and that allowed me to be able to do what I needed to do to be a support for her and to just make it happen. So this is happening. Her mom and sister get there, kind of have everything right there ready. And then I had called 911 after I had gotten off the phone with her mom and kind of told them what happened. I put them on speaker and she's like, I'll stay with you until they get there. The lady on the phone was awesome. And then she was kind of going through stuff. She's like, oh, do you have this? And I'm like, yep, got it. you have this? Yep, got it. It was cool because she's like telling me this stuff, and I was just like, oh man, I already got it. I got this.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool.
So who cut the umbilical cord?
So I did. So then take you, and I won't tell you where we live or department or whatever. You know, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but it was interesting. Small town, and ambulance shows up, and whoever else was there, and firefighters, and got all these people around, and they show up, and I'm there, and she's, you know, in this doorway, and by the time the fire department got there, the ambulance and the EMTs, could already see the head. And these guys come in, and it's just like this, like I like look up and look around, and I'm fully expecting them to like take over and be like, okay, Dad, step back and let's, you know, do this, that, and the other. And they kind of get in there, and they're all looking at each other, just jaw to the floor, like they had never seen something like this before. And so I'm just waiting for them to take over, and nobody said or did anything. And so I'm like, do you have gloves? And then, you know, then they're getting gloves. Oh yeah. Do you have this? Oh yeah. And then they had like a monitor and stuff. And I'm like, where are we going to use that? Like, what's, you know, and he's, oh yeah. And so then they're hooking up like the heart rate monitor and that kind of stuff. And so it's just funny. Like, I'm sure for them too is a scary experience. But again, I just felt like super calm, and it was nice that I was already calm because I was able to kind of direct and just keep doing what I was doing, which was cool. And so it was literally one push for the head and one push for the body, and hold my baby girl. And and then I'm again kind of waiting for, I'm thinking they're gonna take the baby and make sure everything's good, and they're all kind of not doing anything again. And so I ask them if they've got like a suction, and so I start like suctioning out her mouth and get her on her back, and I'm kind of rubbing her. And
you realize like 99.9% of dads out there do not know anything about this. I didn't even know about this.
Oh man. Yeah. Just like every time I think about it, I get, you know, I kind of get kind of shaky because I, you know, that adrenaline starts to come back. And it was a very spiritual experience, if you will. Mm-hmm. Just, you know, seeing this new human being come into the world and kind of be the first person to be there to you know, bring my little girl into the world, which was so cool. So yeah, that was it was.
Tell me about the journey of the shoelace that you ripped off the shoe.
Oh yeah, so I've got, you know, I'm like, hey, you got a suction, and so they give me one of those little blue, the baby suction things for like boogers and stuff, and I get her mouth cleared out, and she's good. Her eyes are opening, and then I've kind of got her, you know, with this hand underneath her belly, and I'm rubbing her back and kind of wiping off her face, and then, you know, she starts to kind of cry, and then I'm like, oh, dude, I because I had the shoelace ready, I was going to use that, but then I'm like, oh, do you have clamps? Because they have clamps, and you clamp off about, I can't remember what it is, like halfway down, and you clamp, you know, a couple inches apart. Yeah. And clamps. And
so they had clamps.
Yeah. So then you know, and again, I'm like thinking he's going to do it, and he hands them to me. And so I'm like, clamp. Okay. And I'm like, do you have scissors? And he's like, oh yeah, scissors. Yeah. And he hands them to me. And so I cut the cord and then kind of pull it up against her and wrap her up, and I'm holding my little girl, and Allie's, you know, on the ground, just kind of like, what is going on?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it was a roller coaster. More for, you know, some people would be like, oh man, I'm sure that was crazy for Dad. And I'm really glad because it wasn't like a roller coaster for me. It was more, I was so concerned about Allie and, you know, is she okay? What's she feeling? And yeah, it was one of those, like, never forget, you know, my little girl will always be my little girl. Just, I have that closeness with her because I went through that with her.
That's awesome. And anyone that knows Zach, you can't be too surprised that this happened to him, because
that was one of the things like all our friends are like, that would happen to you.
Yeah, this totally would happen to Zach. And there's two things I always point out when I love telling people this story. I'm like, my best friend delivered his daughter, and I tell him that you grabbed like a hunting knife out and you cut the umbilical
Yeah,
cord.
I'm sure there's some embellishments going.
Yeah,
going
people
around
believe
out
that.
there.
And then the other, this is true. You called me like 5 minutes after this happened. You're like, dude, you're never gonna believe this. I just delivered my daughter, and I'm like, what? It's like 5 a.m. or whatever. But I thought that was so awesome that you called me because you were so excited to tell me. So
Oh, of course.
yeah, that was so crazy. So JoJo is 5 or 6 weeks older than my boy Lincoln, and they're the best of friends and growing up together, and it's fun to see that.
They're gonna get married, right?
Yeah, we have a planned marriage.
Yep.
Well, the wives have a date and everything. So yeah, but that's such a cool story. So I want to get your opinion because I feel like you and I share a lot of the same beliefs on raising strong children, and especially as a father raising strong sons.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of outside factors and confusion in this world. So the father's role in raising strong sons, it's becoming more and more important. So I just want to get some of your philosophies, some of your thoughts, and your experiences now that you have Jet is 5 or 6.
Yeah, I just turned 5. What has it been? Turned 5 4 days ago. So just had a birthday. Pretty cool. See, number 5 has been probably the biggest transition in his age that I've seen so far. Like he's starting to, be more interested in like sports and stuff. Like the other day, he, finally get him to sit down and he wants to watch some football with dad, and he's reacting to plays happening. Oh man, that was so cool, and like asking me like, we need to go to a football game.
Yeah,
It's been kind of fun to see him kind of start to turn into like that. What I guess all dads like kind of picture, like when I have a son, you do all this manly stuff.
Yeah.
And which has been really cool.
Yeah, that's totally what you want.
But yeah, I think that's a topic that needs to be discussed more, especially between friends that are dads. That the notion of, to be a strong man is to never show emotion, to do everything on your own, and you can't ask for help. That's not what being a man is about. Part of, and what I think, this podcast and conversations we've had, building a community of dads that not only raise strong children and that help each other to be strong in our lives, but that they can rely on each other for, different needs. Like there are going to be things that I come to you for, even as a dad or a husband, where I'm like, oh man, he's got that figured out. Like he's doing that well. And I'm not good at that.
Right.
And I think that's something that creating a community of dads that have similar beliefs or even different beliefs, that they can come together. And because it really does take a community to raise kids. Your kids are not going to be with you every day. They're not going to be with you for the rest of their life. And so them being able to learn from others that you're close to, I think is important as well. That, they rely on you as a parent to a point, but that we teach them that there are a lot of other good people in your life that care about you, and that you can learn from.
Yeah, I love that. So you kind of have a different situation. You have, can I say, 2 dads?
Yeah.
You have 2 dads.
Yeah, we can
So
get into that.
do you want to explain that real quick, and then just a quick lesson that you've learned from each dad? And you grew up with one, you didn't grow up with the other dad, and he'll explain that situation. But I'm really curious to see what you've learned from your real father.
Well, that's an interesting question, like what I've learned from him, because
Do you want to explain the situation?
Yeah. So just
everyone-
briefly, my mom did have me when she was 17. So obviously finishing high school, and for anyone that knows about having a baby, basically as a baby,
Yep.
not even an adult yet, knows the challenges that can come with that.
Can you, real quick,
Yeah. Sorry,
you gotta speak into it this way. Not down.
into it. Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. Hopefully all the audio hasn't been ruined. I have to do this again. Remember what I said?
That's what editing's for.
Well, there you go. So my mom had me young. My biological father, I refer to him as Brooks. That's his name. He was in our lives until I think I was like 3 or 4. And then I didn't have any contact or relationship or anything like that growing up. And then shortly after we got married, we had kind of reached out to each other, me and Brooks, and then from there started just kind of talking, getting to know each other, and obviously crazy or not crazy to find out we have a lot of similarities, a lot of things in common, a lot of things, like we make some of the same faces, which is crazy.
So real quick, the timeline is he's in your life till 3 or 4 years old, and then your mom ends up marrying Jeremy.
Mary's, who I refer to as my dad, my father, the one that raised me, and
then so fast forward, now that you're married, you've reconnected with your biological father, Brooks.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So, I don't know at this point if, when you say like what, maybe some things I've learned from the two of them. I don't know that I have like any groundbreaking lessons that I've learned from Brooks, at this point. But it has been nice to kind of learn where you come from.
Yeah.
It's not like I was like at like a weird place in my life where I thought I needed like this illuminating, up to that point, I had never really had like a desire to reach out.
Okay.
I love my dad, and have learned so much from him growing up, and he did a phenomenal job of teaching me, growing up, and is every bit a lot of who I am, the good and the bad, which is good to recognize that, and now being a father, that you can't be a perfect dad and husband. It just doesn't, it doesn't happen. And for my dad, raising me, I can't imagine being a 20-something-year-old young kid, had just come home from an LDS mission as well, and to immediately jump into having a family.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We see the changes in ourselves and things that got us to the point to be ready to be a dad, and even then we're like, holy crap, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
And so
how old was Jeremy?
Well, let's see.
When you got married?
Yeah, I think it
approximately
would have been like 22, right?
That's crazy.
Just off the mission. So,
dude, I look back to when I was 22 and I'm like, you didn't know anything.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, I still don't know anything.
But beyond that, like, I don't even know if I had the capacity to like bring a child into my life. So I think for him to do that is very special. It takes someone special to do that and like just step in and be a dad.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'll just start with that. Like, that in itself is a lesson that I draw on often. And you asked me when the last time it was cried, and then we start talking about stuff that's emotional. And it makes me emotional to think about my dad raising me and how great of a job that he did do with what he had. He was learning too. Yeah. And I've had, over the past probably 5 years or so, like, we've had our ups and downs, and learning from each other. And I mean, I'd say today I'm the closest to him than I've ever been. And a lot of that is due to becoming a dad, because I then see and remember things that he did growing up, and just realize, oh my gosh, like, you know, you can be mad at your parents for anything and everything, but then to realize, man, they were young too.
Yeah.
They were learning. Yeah. And, you know, how can you hold fault for something that it's like, if I was in that situation, like, I probably would have done the same thing. Like, you know, just different things that you may look back on and be like, oh man, they should have done this or that different. And really in reality, it's like, well, they couldn't because they didn't know how to. Yeah.
Right. So I've had quite a few interactions with your dad, you know, through the years. And my observation is, he's a little more reserved, a little more quiet. Like he'll be at the back playing with the kids or whatever, but he's also observing what's going on around him.
Very good observer.
And I feel like he's one of those dads that will like watch you make a mistake just so it can provide you a better learning experience, which can be frustrating, you know, looking back if you're the one making the mistake, but it becomes a teaching opportunity for him. And I don't know, he's also like just like this, the ultimate like father figure, you know, like he's
like the epitome
mechanically, like he knows how to run every tool. He can fix your truck.
He can fix anything.
Yeah. So my dad, I'm sorry, Dad. My dad's not like that. He's not mechanically inclined, and didn't pass that along, but he's got obviously other attributes that are incredible. But that's so cool that Jeremy's passed that down to you, and look where it's taking you in life, you know?
Yeah. Like even just that simple thing, like watching my dad fix everything, like the type that like, okay, my dishwasher's not working. Like most people are like, maybe dink around with it for a couple minutes and then like, screw this, I'm going to call somebody.
Yeah.
Not my dad. You know, my dad would have the whole dishwasher taken apart down to the last screw before he's going to call somebody to come fix it for him. He's like, I'll figure this out.
So at what point does it come down to pride, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's okay though. I feel like in a lot of ways that was like a good pride, and I've taken that with me too. I mean, there are still things that I'm like, I can't do that. But who do I call? I'll end up calling my dad.
Yeah, for sure. So Jed just had his 5th birthday 4 days ago.
Yep.
And I know you were throwing a birthday party because you called me up and you were gonna borrow some lights and stuff. Some stuff happened. Party didn't go the way you wanted, which is so normal.
Yeah.
You know, hosting parties. But do you want to just quickly tell the story about Spider-Man and like what Jed told you at the end of the night?
Oh yeah, heck yeah, that was awesome. This is just like one of those like moments where you're just so grateful to be a parent. Yeah, so I had mentioned earlier, Allie became a doula, has been growing that business and doing very well. And she'd had a client that was due and ended up getting induced or going into labor early that morning, like middle of the night. And so Allie had gotten up, left. Allie is this amazing planner. She plans everything down to the last, every detail. And especially birthday parties. She loves hosting and throwing birthday parties, and she does these big elaborate birthday parties for the kids. I think at first I like her doing these things is like kind of stressful, and it's like, oh, why are we doing these? These kids aren't even going to remember it. But she just does a great job and she loves it. And so it's been fun to support her doing that. So she left middle of the night to go take care of her client. Lady wasn't progressing. And so about midday, I'm getting stuff ready, and we kind of knew she wasn't going to make it back for the birthday party.
Yeah.
Which was really, she was really sad about.
And Allie loves birthday parties. I know this about Allie. She loves planning them. She loves throwing them. So I'm sure that was heartbreaking.
And her to not make it was, she was just trying to be positive and be there for her client, but knowing that she can't be there for her son. But yeah, I kind of had sent her a few texts. I'm like, you better start sending me what to do, because I don't know what the heck to do.
Yeah.
So, we just made it happen. Like, got some help from my mom and her sisters, and everybody just kind of pulled together and throw this party. But one of the things she had planned, we threw a Spider-Man party or a superhero party, and Jet loves Spider-Man. So we'd had this idea for me to dress up and show up to the party as Spider-Man and kind of surprise him. And so we got a pretty good Spider-Man suit. And so about halfway through the party, I had my mom and Allie's mom kind of run stuff, and I ran and changed and got my stuff on. Well, what I didn't realize was that suit's so stretchy and stretched out so much. I got a tattoo right here on my thigh, and I didn't realize you could see the tattoo through the spandex. Should have put on some underneath.
That wasn't in the reviews when you bought it.
Yeah, no. The guy did say though, he's like, you should do some push-ups right before because it doesn't hide anything.
I bet.
So anyways, just throw the suit on and come out and surprise him, and he's just like, oh my gosh, Spider-Man's at my house.
Yeah.
And so we go over to do some pictures, and when I go down and kneel down, one of his nephews sees my tattoo, and his nephew's older, and he's not dumb, and he's like, "That's not Spider-Man, that's your dad." And I'm like, "Oh crap." So that happened. I kind of shook it off, and we took some pictures with the kids, and then I was like, yeah, I gotta go help some people. And so then I took off, and I went change real quick and snuck back into the party. And the kids were kind of laughing about it and kind of whispering, and I think the parents were trying to kind of, for the younger kids, be like, no, that was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Make it more real and more fun for them. Well, later we get everything cleaned up and we're leaving. Everyone leaves, and it's just me and Jet and Joe and Jet's little friend, and they're playing with all his new toys. And I could hear Ryan, his little friend, they're talking about Spider-Man coming to the party, and I don't know what they're saying, but I can hear him whispering. And then he comes up to me as he's walking out the door. We're going to walk this little girl home. And he basically says, he's like, "Dad, I know you're Spider-Man. I won't tell anyone." And I was
That's
like,
so awesome.
Yeah. I was like, that, you know what? That happened exactly how it should have.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And I told this story to Katie, and we were like almost in tears because we were just talking about like, that's all we really want as dads, right? We want our kids to just think that we're their hero.
Yep.
So, just thinking about that experience, the question popped into my head, and I want to ask you: Are you your hero?
Absolutely not. But I.
What do you mean?
You know, I was telling you before we started the podcast that I'm like, oh man, I hope I can, come back on and talk, on the podcast in the future and hopefully see changes in myself.
Yeah.
You know this, that this last year I've been working on a lot of self-reflection stuff. It might come up later or not, but just kind of had some real bouts with some depression over the last year or so, and just not feeling great about myself. And a lot of that, I'll be honest, take accountability. A lot of that is due to poor decisions on my part. Just trying to be the best I can be, but also being human, and I'm pretty hard on myself. And so that doesn't help, not feeling like you're at where you wish you were. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask you that same question periodically throughout our friendship, but I guess the real hope is that you do become your hero, and the concept behind that, as I've thought about it, is no one's going to come rescue you. You have to be your own hero. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking from a religious standpoint. As religious men, obviously we can turn to Christ for help, but from a standpoint here on earth, I oftentimes have the thought that no one's going to come rescue me. I need to take control of my own life and be the hero of my life. So
yeah, that's so true. I can't remember where I heard it or the exact wording, but I remember hearing recently, and I've heard it before, but basically that I'd say like, don't meet your hero because you'll be disappointed. And then the guy goes on to talk about how you have to be, this concept of you have to be your own hero. And it was Matthew McConaughey. And in there, he's talking about this concept, and he says that his hero is himself in 5 years.
That's cool.
And then in 5 years, he hopes that his hero will be himself in 5 years again.
Yeah.
And so that just really resonated with me, because that point of somebody outside yourself can't, you can have people you look up to, people that you draw experiences from, people that you go to for help. But if you're not your own hero, then, what are you to yourself?
Yeah. There's this trend going around on social media. I don't know if you've seen it, but I'm not necessarily going to make a video like this. Sometimes these trends are stupid, but this one's pretty cool because it's like, you film a little clip. It's like, we have, or it'd be like you and I talking. It's like, we have this business. We've been going a year and it's been so hard to grow. And then it's like our 14-year-old self is like, dude, you own a business.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. That one.
It's like so cool.
Yeah. And I've seen some cool ones because it's, that hope of like, hopefully we can look back and my 18-year-old self can look at me now and say, like, man, you're freaking cool.
Yeah.
Like that should be the hope.
Well, we've known each other over a decade, and
that's crazy to think about.
I think we've talked about this, and like thinking back to Zach and Jace on their missions, if we could, close our eyes and see where we're at now and be like, dude, look at our beautiful families, our beautiful wives. Mm-hmm. I think we'd be pretty pumped about where we are. So
yeah, I like that. And people should know, viewers, listeners, this guy right here, like if I had to say that somebody was my hero, I would say that it's my best friend.
I appreciate that.
And I mean that like wholeheartedly. Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate that, and super pumped that episode 1 of hopefully something that'll continue to grow and grow into something powerful. Episode 1 was with my best friend. So yeah, it's been a blast having you on. I think this has gone really well, and I'm excited to have you on, periodically throughout the years, and hopefully we can continue to watch each other grow, watch our business grow, and watch our families grow. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.